Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Oh, what's up? Happy Thursday, ladies and gents. Welcome to Run It Back. Lou, Will, Chandler P. I'm Michelle. And we got a great show today. Got a lot of basketball to talk about. We had some fun basketball last night. We got some basketball tonight. It's ongoing and forever. But we're going to start with the T-Wolves. Congratulations, Minnesota. They are moving on. The gentleman's sweep is complete. What do you want? 110. By the way, first time that the T-Wolves have made it back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Ain't bad. Anthony Edwards with 22, 12, and 7. Julius with 29, 8, and 5. Conley threw in 16. Kuminga, gotta love it, off the bench with 26. They have now beaten the Lakers and the Warriors in these playoffs. And a month ago, maybe even more, I'm not sure what we thought was going to happen, but probably not beating both of those teams. Let's talk about this. Are we believers now, Chandler, in this Minnesota squad?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be? This team it's so complete. They're tough. They defend. Obviously, it starts and finishes with Anthony Edwards, and he kind of gave us a little variety last night. 12 assists. If he can kind of expand his game, we know how good offensively he is, right? We know he's such a great shot maker. He's such an athlete. He can create space on anybody. But if he all of a sudden now can start getting other guys involved, and he can kind of be one of those triple-double type guys where he's rebounding, he's getting dimes, he's getting everyone else involved, getting everyone touches, moving the ball, constant flow, I think this is when this team is even going to take off more. And Julius Randle was fantastic again. I'm so happy for him. And this team just finds a way to win. They defend. They're tough. And again, Anthony Edwards, he had 7 turnovers last night, but I don't even care because he was playing the right way. He was being aggressive. He was picking his spots. 12 assists. If he can expand his game and start being that playmaker that guys enjoy playing with as well, man, watch out. I didn't even know there's like a whole nother cap of potential for this dude, but there is if he starts playmaking like this.
You know what's funny? This whole season, we've been talking about Dallas getting back to the Western Conference Finals. Not one time did we talk about Minnesota getting back. Like, not once did we mention this team having a chance to get back to the Western Conference Finals. And they took care of business. Last night, they didn't play around. They didn't play with their food at all. Shot damn near 62, 63% from the field. They could have threw it to the athletic trainer. He might have got a bucket for him last night. Like, you have 6 different guys in double figures. Naz Reid had a slow night, but he still was efficient, even just taking, he took 5 shots, and he was 3 for 5 in the 5 shots that he took. Like, everybody contributed something. Everybody put something on the table. Mike Conley was a pleasant surprise to have a big game. You love to see the OGs and the vets have big games and get you over the edge. But this team is dangerous. Man, they're peaking at the right time. They're playing good basketball. They're confident. Everybody is throwing something in the pot. They're going to be a tough out for OKC or Denver. I still like OKC if they come out of that side. But still, all in all, they've done everything they can to earn an opportunity to be where they are. And they're going to be a tough out for any one of those 2 teams.
Like, I know you can't plan it. Obviously, it's part of the greatness of sport. But this whole getting hot at the right time is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we're watching it happen, not just here, but we're watching on the other side in the East as well. Just for Anthony Edwards' purposes, I want to make sure we get this out there. With the 12 assists last night, P.S., they're 8-0 when he's got 4 or more of those bad boys. And 12 is now tied for the most he's had in any game ever. Playoffs, regular, what have you. T-Wolves Thunder. I'm not counting out the Nuggets yet. But the fact that we may get a T-Wolves Thunder Western Conference Finals, that is some young, powerful star power. How much do you think the league is salivating, Lou, at the idea that this is coming, possibly?
They should be happy either way it go, right? Like, one way or another, you got your up and coming face of the league, even though he's fighting that title, but it is what it is. It is what it is. You got your up and coming face of the league. You got your other face of the league on the other side, your MVP that's going to be announced in a few days or so, and then you got your 3-time MVP. No matter what, you can't go wrong in a Western Conference as far as the fans go and matchups go. You can't go wrong. This is what you wait for. This is what you expect. This is what the playoffs is all about. You want to see the best of the best going up against each other. So it's no excuses. Everybody that you would want to be involved is involved. You're going to get some high power matchups one way or another. So it don't even matter to me.
Yeah, you can't lose, right? Like you have the best player in the world, Jokic. You have two young guards that are going to be guarding each other and they're more of a, obviously same position. So that'll be fun. No doubt if it gets to Minnesota, Oklahoma City, I think Lou Dort is obviously the guy that's going to start on Anthony Edwards, and McDaniels would probably start on SGA, but they're going to spend some time on each other. And these are two of the best guards, not young guards, two of the best guards in the NBA, nice. Two of the best basketball players in the NBA. And they are the face of the NBA, whether they like it or not. So I think either way, we're set up for an unbelievable Western Conference final. But it's crazy. We expected, the Nuggets to be in the mix. We expected the Thunder to be there. No, like Lou said, no one really talked about this Minnesota team, and the same thing with Indiana. Both these teams started off slow. Minnesota makes the big move. It's not going to fit. Are they going to get off Rudy? Are they better small? Should Julius Randle, we were talking about, should he come off the bench and they start Naz Reid? This team has figured it out, and you can get hot like this, and this is how you win a championship. It is wide open. When this team can score the way they score, they have star power like they have, and they can defend, and they're healthy, and they're peaking at the right moment. It's exactly what you want to happen. If you're a Minnesota Timberwolf, you are peaking and playing your best basketball when it matters the most. That's exactly what's happening right now. So OKC still has their hands full tonight with Denver. I'm not counting Denver out either, but hats off to Minnesota, Chris Finch, because this was an awesome job, and no one really saw this coming. Everyone was talking about the Lakers, the Mavs, the Nuggets, Rockets for a 2 seed, Warriors. No one gave the Minnesota Timberwolves the credit that they deserve, and they're going on the back-to-back Western Conference Finals.
They bought in.
The Pacers of the West. That's what they should put on the shirts.
Right, Beadle. Like they bought in. These guys, they didn't come into these playoffs hoping to get lucky. It goes back to Anthony Edwards' first presser about the Lakers. They expect us to lose, but we expect to win. Like, they're not surprised. They came into this thing knowing and feeling like we can beat anybody. When you have a team that buy in like that, they're going to be a tough out for anybody. And as you see in these playoffs, they've surprised you once, they surprised you twice. Now they're going to keep going. Let's see what they do in the next round to try to get to that ultimate goal of being in the NBA Finals.
And by the way, if you hadn't seen the post game last night with Lauren Jabbar on TNT with Julius Randle, it was awesome because he was stoked. It's his first time in a conference finals, but he also was so just talking about Anthony Edwards in such a great light that it was a good moment. But we do need to talk a little bit about the Warriors because you know what? We all started to believe in it. But then the Steph Curry injury happened. And unfortunately for anybody, that is just too much to overcome. Look, they're in the business of winning championships. They're a team that we're always going to look at that way, Chandler. Can you still make this season seem as though it was successful to a point? Like, how would you describe what they've just done?
Yeah, I think it was a huge success. You go and get a Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline. You have an unfortunate injury with Steph Curry where this series kind of shifted immediately when that happened. You kind of knew that they were doomed when that happened, but they got better at the deadline. They extend Jimmy Butler for 2 years. They have assets to continue to get better. They do have a huge decision to make here on Jonathan Kuminga because he was one of the assets they wanted to hold on to, but then they didn't play him. And so not that they devalued him, I think he's kind of brought that back up and kind of answered all those questions, whether he can play or he can be that guy that a team's going to go and throw a huge contract at in restricted free agency this summer. But they definitely are there. They have the pieces. They have Steph Curry coming back, who just came off a great year. This hamstring, he's going to have a full off season. It's not like he's going to have to require surgery. It's not like he's going to miss that much time. Obviously, they're getting a year older, him, Draymond, Jimmy, but you tweak a few things. You go and sign and trade a Kuminga and bring on something more because I can't imagine they bring Kuminga back. It wouldn't make sense. They barely played him when it mattered.
But he was so good in the playoffs when they did play him. I guess that was to try out for everyone else.
I think that was a great audition for somebody else.
Good audition.
And that's because Steph Curry was out. Clearly, like at the end of the season, those games that mattered, they didn't play him. He has no business going back there, but he's valuable and they can do a sign and trade and better that roster and come back with championship hopes next season.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. I think that was a great audition for another team that showed that he can be exactly who you think he is. He's a very talented player, a young guy. You'll put a package together for him and give him an opportunity to go somewhere where he's going to thrive, and he can be one of the options of somebody where a team can rely on you, not when just a guy goes out and get injured. So obviously there's something going on there that the style of play just doesn't mix and it doesn't match with what Golden State is trying to build. And so he'll be fine regardless. As far as the Golden State Warriors go, I expect him to be active in the market this summertime. You know, Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is going to be number one on that list of things that they got to get situated. Obviously, they're going to try to put more pieces around aging Jimmy and aging Steph Curry. But other than that, they're always going to try to compete for championships. But I think this is a successful season. These guys were dead before Jimmy Butler came along. They were dead in the water. They were trying to figure out where to next. He stabilized this team. They went 18-2 with him in a regular season. They were able to get a deep run in the playoffs until they got bit by the injury bug. So this is a team that feels like they can still compete at a high level, still compete with some of these young guns in the league and how some of these teams are building. But they do know they got a lot of areas that they need to address, and I'm sure they'll do it in this summer. So
yeah, and when you talk about Jonathan Kuminga too, it's clearly Steve Kerr isn't like a fan, right? And I understand from a basketball standpoint, the Warriors is a product. It's an offensive system where it's high IQ, it's movement, it's next pass, it's constant flow and motion. It's not necessarily Jonathan Kuminga's game, which is okay. Like he's going to go to a Brooklyn, he's going to go to one of these other teams where he can kind of expand his game, play through him, not have to play in this movement kind of structured Steve Kerr offense. I get that. It's not necessarily a fit. But that being said, Jonathan Kuminga is still a stud. He's still so young. He's still super valuable. And he showed that in this series that what a professional. Like I would have been so pissed, and I would have, it's hard not to hang your head in a situation like that where you literally average 15 all season long. You're the third leading scorer on your team, and they go and trade for a guy very similar to you, Jimmy Butler, and you just go to the doghouse. Like he showed me so much in that series just to stay ready, stay professional, and I hope he gets a huge payday. And I do hope it's somewhere else, but I think the best thing the Warriors could do is a sign and trade, so at least they can get something for that asset, not just lose them for nothing.
I mean, he led the team with scoring since Steph went out. I don't want it to be one of those things where there's a couple that's always fighting and then they have one good week and they're like, let's give it another shot. Like, are we all on the same page that we want Kuminga to go somewhere else, even though he had a great several games? Like, it's right. Okay, good. Because I kind of want to see what he does somewhere else, despite all that. Okay, Jimmy Butler, I find this something that we don't talk about enough in sports. We give nicknames to people all the time, but do we ever take them back? And I ask that because he only took 11 shots, guys. His plus minus on this team was the worst. He has the playoff Jimmy nickname. Are we keeping it? Do we put it on hold? How do we deal with that, Lou? I've never dealt with this before.
Listen, one thing about nicknames, we gotta allow some of these guys we really just gotta allow some of these guys to get older. Like, I'm not making an excuse and saying that Jimmy Butler is done, this and that, but guys get to a certain place in their careers where they're at the crossroads where your mind is telling you to go, 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 and your body is telling you something different, and you're just not putting out what you're used to putting out. You're not playing the game how you're used to playing it. I remember dealing with it at the end of my career, and I wasn't a Jimmy Butler. I wasn't the star of a basketball team, but I know at 35, 36, I was getting ready for games. I was revved up, and I would get in games, and some of the things that would come natural to me, teams were just cutting it off, and it wasn't there anymore. And then you have to start making adjustments. For Jimmy to have so much success in the paint, getting to the rim, still getting to the free throw line, those things are intact. Those are his intangibles. Now, where does he evolve his game from there? Can he bully guys when going into being 36, 37 years old? Can he still bully? Does he add a more consistent three-pointer? Does he add a more consistent mid-range? He's going to have to find some different pieces to put in his bag and evolve. So playoff Jimmy will look different. Supersonics and Milwaukee Bucks Ray Allen, he looked different than the Boston Celtics Ray Allen. He looked different than the Miami Heat Ray Allen, but he still found ways to contribute. His game was completely different. He still was a star in his role, but it looked different. I think Jimmy and some of these guys, they're at the crossroads now where they just got to figure out what's the next level, what's the place for them in their careers, being at that age. So he could still be playoff Jimmy. He's just probably going to look different in the future.
Yeah, and Jimmy Butler's great. Jimmy Butler was really good with Steph Curry, and that with that offense and the way that he would get switches and he would go and punish smaller guards in the post and the way that offense ran with those two guys in, Jimmy had a lot of success early. You look at the last two games. I'm not a huge plus minus guy, but minus 47 the last two games. Yeah. I mean, that's not what I would expect from a Jimmy Butler kind of as the guy in the playoff clinching series games. That's not what I expect. And we harped on him shooting 9 shots last game. He only took 11 shots this game. So again, I think when he's the focal point clearly of a defense, and you have a Jade McDaniels, and you have a tough physical defending team like Minnesota making it hard for him, it's harder without Steph Curry on the floor. Everything comes easy with all that attention that the best shooter of all time creates just from being on the floor. Even if he's not even making shots, even if he's not even taking shots, the defense is tailored to stop Steph Curry, which makes everything easier for Draymond Green, everything easier for Jimmy Butler. It opens up the whole floor for everybody. So I think that has something to do with it as well, just the Steph Curry effect without and that attention and stuff. But Jimmy Butler is still good enough to be that guy. It's just for whatever reason, I don't know if he's banged up or what, but like he just didn't, again, 11 shots, it's not enough for me. It's not enough. Season on the line, it's not enough for with Steph Curry out, Jimmy Butler taking 11 shots. So I think they're fine. Again, I think the Kuminga asset, the Pods, the Moody, they still have pieces where they can better this roster and go into next season with championship hopes. But those teams in the West, we look at 3-8 this year, they're not going anywhere. And the Spurs just got better. The Mavs just got better. The Lakers are going to continue to get better. The Rocket, like there are so many good teams in the Western Conference that it's you got to do something, or you're just going to get lost in the sauce.
Okay, so let's stay there, right? Because obviously the Jimmy Butler trade was awesome, but now they've had sort of it's almost fortunate, but it's unfortunate because now you know what you are without Steph. Because Steph could get hurt, and then what? Supporting cast is just not quite enough. Chandler, put on your GM hat. What would they need to do to sort of stay relevant in the West?
I think you sign and trade Kuminga. I don't think he fits Steve Kerr. I don't think Steve Kerr wants him there. He clearly shows him with all the coaches' decisions, the DMPs. He's not a part of their future, but he understands his value and that other teams like him. So I think you start off with a sign and trade, and I don't know what that number would be. I think he deserves north of $20 million a year. I think he is that good, that young. And I think a team will bite the bait on him. So do that. Sign him, get him a good deal, and bring back a valuable 2 or 3 starters, which I think you can get for a Jonathan Kuminga type player. Throw in a Trace Jackson, throw in one of these other younger guys that have value as well. And I think you can kind of build out this roster with more shooting. Buddy Hield was great. He showed flashes throughout the playoffs, throughout the series. I love a guy like that. You got to expect Steph Curry, again, he's going to be 36, 37 years old next year. He's going to miss time. So they can add a lot. They got a surprising product from Quentin Post this year. It's kind of the first time we've had a stretch 5. I think he will be value for them, which makes kind of Looney and Trace Jackson, those guys, the odd man out. So they are deep. They have assets, and they have a lot of ways to shuffle this roster to get better while keeping Jimmy Butler, obviously, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry.
Oh, yes, it's got to keep. By the way, the Steph Curry of it all, yeah, everyone's getting older. We get all that. But he basically averaged 25, 6, and 4 and shot almost 40% from 3,
Crazy.
Lou. And things will start to drop off slowly, I'm sure. But he's still playing like a top 10 player in the league, no?
Yeah, Steph Curry is going to be Steph Curry. I think we're going to witness Steph Curry in the same way that we possibly can see a LeBron go deep into his late 30s and still have success. I think the version of that changes. Like, think about how many screens that he runs off, how he's able to get open for a lot of these shots. Teams that start adjusting. And for that, we start seeing, this was the first time that we start having a fatigue conversation around Steph Curry. And then what happens? He has a fatigue-style injury in a hamstring. So again, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler being able to evolve at this stage in their career. Steph Curry is going to find that version of evolution as well. He's not going to run off as many screens. He's not going to do all of these things going into his late 30s, going into his 40s, if he has the desire to play that long. But again, somebody that's so ball dominant when he has the ball, that can play off the ball, he can do every single thing that you can imagine, but he has a lot of success when he plays off the basketball. Now, what does that version look like in the future? We'll see. But he's always been a mastermind and a craftsman when it comes to basketball. He's going to make his adjustments in this summer, and I expect him to still be a top 10 player in the league, just as he has been in the past decade or so in this league, But I think the version that we are used to seeing of Steph Curry, we'll see a new and improved version, and he'll still make his adjustments, and he'll still be Steph Curry.
Yeah, it's a shooter's league, and this is the greatest shooter of all time we're talking about. That shot is not
shooting is at a premium.
Yeah, that shot's just not going to get broke out of nowhere. He is going to shoot at a high clip, over 40%, for however long he plays. I don't care how healthy he is. I don't care if he's 70, 80%. He is still going to have value in the league. Top 10, top 15, top 20, who knows? Right now, yeah. And what's crazy is remember All-Star Week and the voting came around. There was a chance that maybe he didn't get a vote or start. If he didn't get a starter, he wasn't going to make the team. And he has continued to get better throughout the year. He's the one guy that goes on the road and it's basically a home game. Like he's picturing that Orlando game where he turned that arena basically into the Chase Center, like on his own. Like there's nobody like him. He's the most loved player, I think, in the NBA. And he's going to continue to have value just the way he can shoot the ball. And he's just got to find ways to stay healthy. This injury to me this is like an old, like Lou, this is like an old head injury. This is like you tweaked your hammy, this is what the things he's going to have to start dealing with now. You know what I mean? Like, but he's going to be just fine.
Hammies suck. More collagen. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We do have a lot more Run It Back to get to. We also have another game that happened last night, and I don't get a watch because of it. We'll be right back.
Run it up, run it back, yeah.
They live to see another day. Boston with a big win at home last night, 127-102. Derek White, 34, 7 of 13 from 3. Jaylen Brown had his 26 points and 12 assists. Peyton Pritchard was 17 off the bench. Brunson finished with 22. I also fouled out of this one. Josh Hart with 24. Let's go ahead and call it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is, and will forever be known as, the Luke Cornett game. So remember that when you go out into the streets today and have discussions about hoops with your friends. But this was, look, I don't want to be one of those idiots, and there's going to be a lot of hot takes today on all the talking head shows, but, well, are they just better without Jason Tatum? We're not going to do that. But it is a different style, is it not, Lou? So maybe we can sort of expand on that. Like, what's so different about how they played last night versus when Tatum's out there?
Different style for sure. And these guys showed, listen, there's a pecking order. If Jason Tatum has the basketball, if Jaylen Brown has the basketball, we got to wait our turn. But if one of these guys go out, it's our opportunity to hoop. I'm going to show you how special I am. Derek White, big time step up game. Listen, and the game don't care. 34 is a 34. He don't care who give it. And Derek White went out there and he did his best version of Derek White and some of Jason Tatum by his shooting. That's what you need. Even Drew Holiday, like he didn't have a ton of attempts, but he upped his aggression. He was 5 for 8 from the field. He throws in 14 for you. Luke Cornett goes 5 for 5, throws in a 10 for you. You need all of these guys. Yeah.
Hello.
Shout out to Cornett, big time.
7
5
blocks,
for 5
man.
with the reverse dunk, the blocks. Like, guys step in. Even Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard is one of the guys that we always talk about, but he throws in 17. That's what you want to see from your team when a guy goes out. They didn't hang their heads. They let everybody close the curtain on them, and they just kept pushing. May we remind you, this is a team that was 9-2 without Jason Tatum, 10-2 now without him. They feel like they can win basketball games without him. That's how good that this basketball team is. Now who has all the pressure on them? New York. New York has to go home and try to close this thing in Madison Square Garden, and all the pressure is on them. As far as the Celtics are concerned, everybody had them losing anyway yesterday.
True.
So now they're going back to New York with no pressure on them and playing a great game, and these guys have sky-high confidence. It's going to be a scary game 6 in the Garden. It really is. It's going to be a scary game 6 in the Garden. It's going to get interesting.
It'll be loud.
I get into that, and the Knicks. The pressure's back on the Knicks, by the way. Like
Clinchy bums is what we call it in New York right now. Yeah.
No Tatum. They're supposed to now beat this team, which I don't think that's also true either. But you can't convince me that the Celtics are a better team without Jason Tatum. They're not, and he's a great player. He's a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA, and he is. But there is something to say about when a guy like that gets off the offense. It's not as take turned. It's not as get him going. It's not, you're just playing. You're free flowing. Like Lou just said, there is a pecking order, but when you take out those 15, 20 shots a game, Jaylen Brown's just hooping. Derek White's just hooping. They're not thinking. They are going action, next side to side, and they are just playing, and they don't feel like, okay, we got to slow it down. Let's get Jason a touch off the block. Let's you know what I mean? So it does change kind of the flow of their offense when Jason Tatum goes out. But like we just said, don't you dare lose game 6, New York, because that would be an absolute meltdown. I don't know what would happen for the Knicks fans. It would be very, very bad. But all the pressure, I'm telling you, just shifted to New York. This wasn't even close. It would be one thing if this was like a tight game. Celtics just outplayed them. And so they outplayed them. And then again, they've had success. This team believes that they are still better than the Knicks without Jason Tatum, and their record shows that. So this series by no means is over, and all the pressure is on the New York Knicks now. This is their game 7. They do not want to go back to Boston.
You know what's crazy is the fourth quarter started. It was like it was exactly a 20-point lead. And I still just was like on the couch just going, okay.
I was waiting for them to smoke it.
I just kept waiting, and then Brunson fouls out, and you're like, all right, this one just feels differently, I guess. So maybe this one's okay for Boston. I'm wondering if the Derek White thing, the 34 points, obviously, it's his second 30-point game of the playoffs. Are we expecting this to be the formula for tomorrow night as well? Or are they in a position where it doesn't necessarily have to be all Derek White? Like, Lou, how are you looking at Derek White's role now that Tatum's out for the rest of this?
I thought he shot it well, and I think he understands that he's going to have to step up his aggression. You know what he brings to the table on defense. We don't even have to go through that. But on the offensive end, that's where his team is going to struggle without Jason Tatum. So if Derek White is going to continue to pour in 34s, like it doesn't even have to be a 34. If he can give you 20, 25 and still be the defensive presence that he is, that's sufficient enough. If you can kind of get Porzingis going a little bit, I know that he's dealing with illness and having his struggles, but even if you can get that guy going, like he had 1 point last night. If he chips in a 14 or 15 in the next game, that's going to give you an opportunity to win this basketball game. They got so many moving parts that can beat you, that could go out there and win a game for you. It really doesn't matter if Derek White has a particular night like this, but for him personally, this is great to see if you're the Boston Celtics, knowing that Jason Tatum is going to be out next season, knowing that he's going to be out the majority of the year. You're going to need that scoring punch. This team is going to look different next year regardless. You know, a couple of these guys are going to have to be moved around based on the salary cap and where they are. So having Derek White, this gives you a great inclination of knowing, hey, this is a guy that can go out there and be a 1-2 punch with Jaylen Brown, being that Jason Tatum is going to be out. This was a great sample size. Can he do it again tomorrow night? I expect him to. Him knowing that that's going to be his job now, I think that's what he's going to be able to do. But again, if it's not him, they still got 2 or 3 other guys that can do it. That's what's going to make them dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Derek White, right? You don't have to run plays for him. You don't have to run the offense through him. Naturally, he's just a hooper. He's a big guard. He can initiate the offense. He can play kind of that point forward type. He's shooting the ball super confident right now. So Derek White is one of those versatile Swiss Army knives where you can put him on any part of the floor, play through him in the post. You can have him handle. You can have him set the screen and slip out. He's got such a quick release too, where he can kind of get his shot off on anyone. So that is the beauty of him, where he doesn't get frustrated whether he takes 3 shots. Derek White could take 4 shots tomorrow night. I wouldn't be surprised. Or he could take 25 shots tomorrow night. I wouldn't be surprised. That's the type of player he is, where it doesn't matter. He's just going to keep his head down. He's going to continue to play. He's going to defend. He's going to block shots. He's one of the best shot blocking guards I've seen in a really long time. But he's just so versatile, man. And again, this offense is just going to be more free flowing. It's going to be Sam Hauser is going to be coming off screens down. Pritchard's going to handle whoever gets the defensive rebound, just bust out in transition. There's no sitting around and waiting. Okay, let's get Jaylen going. Let's get Jason going. They're just playing, and they're really, really good. And they can obviously shoot it. They shot 45% last night. If this team shoots over 40% from 3, they have a good chance of winning the game.
I know that the roster change thing is going to be a hot topic. Whenever the Celtics season does end, that will be immediately what the next stuff that we talk about where Boston's concerned. We always mention Drew Holiday, Porzingis. They're going to have to look into the future. Who's untouchable besides your 2, right? I assume Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the untouchables, right? Chandler, is there anyone else you're not touching on that roster?
It's tough because as much as I love Drew Holiday, like he's think about it, like Team USA, Grant Hill, they needed him on that team. Like he is so good at being that glue guy, that constant PG, defending the best player. Like I don't want to get rid of him. Porzingis would probably be the first one to go of all these. And then again, Derek White, he's so good too. He knows his role. Pritchard's untouchable on his current contract. There's no way I'm getting off Pritchard making 10 a year or whatever he makes. So I would guess it would be Derek White and Porzingis would be who I would kind of possibly shop. And again, I'd shop them all and see what I can get, but I'm trying to keep Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Pritchard. I think that core together, they obviously got to get some size. They got to get a big. Al Horford's going to be 40. Porzingis, he's kind of always banged up, but he's also shown that he's extremely valuable and productive when he's healthy, but it's a big if. So if I had to get rid of 2 of them, it's Porzingis and I guess Derek White, but man, he's so good.
don't get rid of Derek White.
Especially
Clinchy
after
bum time.
34, it sounds after the game last night. It sounds nuts to say,
Can't.
but like I'm keeping
I know.
Drew Holiday.
My only thought is there's gonna be a team there is gonna overhaul for Drew Holiday. He's the good luck bug, right? Like you bring him to Milwaukee, what happens? You bring him to Boston, what happens? There's a team that looks at that and say we're willing to bet the house on trying to get this caliber of a player. So that'll be something interesting to look at.
Gonna have a fun offseason there in Boston. All right, for the record, 2-point favorites, the Knicks tomorrow, game 6. We're gonna take a quick break. On the other side, the champ, Todd Golden.
Yeah, there he is.
Here. We'll talk to him next.
Run it up, run it back, yeah.
From your Chandler, Florida Gators champion Todd Golden is here. Coach, first of all, thanks for joining us. We're going to get to all things basketball, and Chandler can bug you with whatever it is he's going to bug you with. But we got to talk first pitch. In the sports world, anytime anybody gets to throw out a first pitch at a Cubs game, no less, by the way, kind of the holy
this
grail.
wasn't great. This wasn't awesome.
Let's go.
That bad, man. It wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad either. I'm catching a lot of flack over this.
Let me see.
And
Let's see here.
That's
That's
not
not bad.
awful.
You got to cross the plate.
that's what I said. It didn't bounce. I didn't
That is
airmail
free.
it. It was in the right-hand batter's box, but I'm like no warm-ups, no nothing. Like let's. It's not my specialty. All right, I got it there.
No, that
It is
ain't bad,
nerve-wracking,
Coach.
I'm
That ain't
sure.
bad at
By the way,
all.
were you ever considering White Sox, or was it always Cubs? How does that decision work?
I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was a huge Cubs fan growing up. Baseball and basketball were my two things. We didn't have the Diamondbacks until the mid-'90s, so my first 10 years, I grew up going to spring training in Mesa at Ho-Ho-Com and then WGN watching the Cubs every day growing up. So that was a pretty special experience for me, and being able to bring my son was pretty awesome also.
That's really good.
Coach, obviously, big congrats are in order here. The Gator boys are back on top, the Natty champs. You get the contract extension this summer. All is well in the world. Just kind of walk us through just the roller coaster that you've been on, kind of even going back to the end of that game. That was just ridiculous to now. How is kind of everything? How is life for you since then?
Yeah, it's been an incredible run, man. As you know, we had a great team this year. We had a special group. Those 3 senior guards were amazing for us all year, and just great, confident players and guys that should be playing in your league here pretty soon. And then our front court was just filled with really hard-playing young dudes that were willing to play for the team and do whatever we needed to do. And when we knew early on we had a good group, but we kind of hit our stride in the middle of SEC play, never really looked back. And kind of the magical run of the tournament, being able to win 6 in a row on the biggest stage. It was pretty funny, for me. I had never won an NCAA tournament game before, so to get 6 in a row and get a natty was something that we'll never forget. And then it's been amazing after. We had a great reception in Gainesville. We were honored at the New York Athletic Club. We're going to the White House next week. We're just trying to enjoy it the best we can.
Hell yeah. And by the way, obviously the SEC was stacked this year. You guys getting those reps for the tournament, I had to have helped. How critical was that? And what do you think was the biggest challenge? Like, what's the hardest place outside of Gainesville and the SEC to go and play?
Yeah, there's no doubt the league prepared us and the rest of the teams very well. We when we won the SEC tournament, we as a staff, we talked a lot about it. If we're able to do this, we can win this thing because we're not going to play 3 better teams over 3 games than we just did playing Missouri, Bama, and Tennessee to win it. And the league is insane, and from top to bottom now. It's not just, the top 5 or 6 teams. You're looking at 14 teams that really could have played in the NCAA tournament. So, I think outside of our facility right now, I look at Auburn as a really tough place to play. We played great there, and obviously had one of our best wins of the season there. But that's a challenging place. And then Tennessee, they got us pretty good at their place. I would say that was probably the hardest venue for us this season for sure.
And let me ask you this. I thought my guy Billy D was a college coach lifer, and it makes me sick even thinking about you possibly leaving for the league. But is that like a dream of yours? You're so young, dude. Obviously, you just locked up the contract extension. Like, is that on your wish list to coach the league one day, or are you just kind of living in the moment, happy in the college ranks?
We're living in the moment for sure. It's funny how quickly things could change. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have never really thought about the potential of coaching in the NBA, and obviously because of the success that we've had in our program here over the last couple of years, I would say it's something that I've thought about, and I'd be incredibly honored if I was ever given the opportunity. But obviously you saw getting locked in here at Florida. And I feel like we have a great thing going on here and, trying to run it back and trying to see if we can continue and sustain the success we've had here. Definitely, something that I would be interested in down the road. But I'm really happy. My family's really happy in Gainesville right now. And as you know, it's a great place to be.
Yep. Coach, I want to ask. A lot of people had you guys meeting Cooper Flagg and Duke in that national championship game, but obviously Houston took care of business. From everything that you've been able to see, what does Cooper Flagg bring to the next level? What sets him apart from the pack?
Yeah, he's an incredibly unique and talented prospect. Someone who's been talked about really since he was like a freshman or sophomore in high school. And I think the best thing about Cooper Flagg for the NBA is I do think he's going to be able to impact early. Whether he's going to be able to become, a superstar, I think that's still to be determined. I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong. But you guys know every player in that league is amazing. So you get there, I think he measured at 6'7" yesterday, which is probably a little smaller than people thought. But he's a ready-made guy. He can do a little bit of everything. He can defend multiple positions. He's good with the basketball. He finishes well around the rim. I think he's got to tighten up his jumper a little bit. But he's a guy that has a really, really high floor, and I don't think he would disappoint. Being that number one selection.
Coach, did we run at Cooper Flagg? Like, did we even entertain recruiting him or not? It was a wrap.
We made a couple calls, but we learned very quickly it would have been a waste of time. So we moved on to other guys.
Chandler, you should have done whatever you needed to do.
Listen, Coach knows we were texting yesterday. I'm available. It's all I got is the Florida Gators beads. Coach knows that.
I don't know if I want young kids around Chandler ever. Walter Clayton Jr. If you weren't familiar with him, you certainly were during the run. Everybody became very familiar with him. I love a good viral video coming out of the combine of him shooting. Projected first round. So let's talk about him. Why? Who should take him? What would they be getting when they draft him?
You know what? He's the jump that he's made over the last 12 months, I don't think has really been appreciated. Obviously, he was kind of the darling of the NCAA tournament and kind of put us on his back at times and finished games for us and deserved to win the most outstanding player. I think he is just a remarkable basketball player, a guy that can just shot make with the best of them. I look at a guy like a Peyton Pritchard right now in the NBA and the success that he's having. And obviously I'm biased, but I think Walt's I think he's a little more dynamic. I think he's incredible with the basketball, a guy that was primarily thought of as kind of a two guard his whole career. We played him at point last season. He did a great job running our team. He got himself in exceptional shape, was great assist to turnover ratio wise. He's guarding harder now than he ever did. And you're just getting a pro, a guy that's mature, a great guy, no trouble off the court, one of the best guys I've ever had to coach. You guys know, like star players, sometimes you got to, he was great. He never pushed back on anything we talked about, was a great extension of our coaching staff on the floor. And, I see some of these younger guys getting mocked in the top 10 and they're all great players, but Walter was better than these guys. He was just better. And I understand he's, 22 or 23 and some of these guys are 19 and there's a little bit of the age difference. But like Lou Will knows, man, when you get a bucket, it's incredibly valuable. And this is a guy that I think can score with the best of them.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is as good as his college career was, like they almost feel, I feel like the league looks at him like this is who he is. It's less sexy than a 19-year-old where maybe the sky is the limit and there's more potential there. But if I'm a GM, don't I want a guy right now that can come and help my team win and can shoot the ball like he can shoot and do all these different things you're talking about? And I love the Peyton Pritchard, comp. Is there anyone else outside of that? Like you saw the Dame and the Steph during the tournament. I'm like, we'd slow down a little bit, but obviously he can shoot it.
I think we're somewhere in between on Dame and Steph are, they're max players, right? And then you got Peyton Pritchard who is playing fantastic basketball on a great deal for the Celtics. And you ask like what teams, I think one of the teams that always wins will figure it out and take them, whether that's like a Boston or an OKC. I know the Magic really like them, and they got 2 picks in the first round. But I think one of those teams that really values a winning player, a guy that has a really good attitude and has won at the highest level in college. I think somebody will figure it out in a big way, and hopefully will select him close to that lottery.
Yeah. On the flip side, Coach, we've seen a lot of guys withdraw from the NBA draft, and they're going back to school. From your conversations in recruiting these young guys, how much has NIL been a part of that conversation and that process?
Everything. Everything. When the decision that guys like Chandler had to make however many years ago was like, all right, do I go to the NBA and start my career and start getting paid real money, or do I go back to college where my earning potential is zero? Like I can't get paid, right? And so there was a big conversation that a lot of people had to have. And now these guys, their conversation is, all right, do I go try to, get in the lottery or get in that top half of the first round, or do I go back to college and get a couple $1 million and be the big man on campus and get to be a college kid for another year? That NIL factor makes these decisions a lot more difficult for these guys. It makes going back to college a lot more appealing. And, it's the wild, wild west a little bit, and we have to put some guardrails up and figure it out. But it is definitely great for the health of college basketball, because you have these guys that could go to the NBA and would be potential first-round picks, which, 10 years ago, they'd be gone for sure. Now they're coming back to college, and I think it's making our product a lot better.
Yeah, there's a huge gray area that I'm sure that'll be shored up. But from your vantage point, what are the best parts of the NIL, and what are the worst parts of the NIL right now?
Well, the best parts are that these student athletes are getting compensated, for the work that they're doing, on top of their scholarship. And, for me, I'm a little old school in the sense of like, I value the scholarship a lot still. When you get, a $60,000 or $70,000 value to attend a place like Florida, and you get all your meals and your room and your board paid for, that has to be accounted for. But the money in college it continues to climb. The TV deals, we're similar to the NBA, and I think the players deserve a piece of that pie, and they're starting to get it now. The tough parts about it is there's very little regulation around it in regards to, the transfer legislation is really tough to work with. These guys it's basically free agency every year. Like, we can't lock guys up for 2 or 3 years. They get to, if they have a good year, they can go in the portal and for lack of a better term, test between you and somebody else and see what they're willing to give you. It's hard to invest in freshmen because they can leave after their first year. You want guys that want to come in and kind of learn and grow and be a part of it. They're 18, and the guys that are playing are 23, 24. But after a year, you can put all this energy and effort into them, and they can leave. And so I think having a little more, regulation around the transferring would be really beneficial. And we need to get to a point where we can collectively bargain like you guys have always done with the NBA. But the inability to make these guys employees has kind of been an issue that way. I think we got to find that middle ground where we can do a little something like that.
Yeah, and it's got to be even tougher, right? For like a mid-major school, you win mid-major player of the year. Like, there's no way you're going back to that school. Like, you're going to transfer it to, you're out. So like it's hard for them to keep up. Obviously, with Walter gone, the 3 guards, Martin, Richard, we've added some talent, and I think we're going to keep going, and we're going to is there anything else what's the final touch that we need to go back to back here, Coach?
You know what? We're still working on it, man. We're close, I think, to add in impactful player that I think might help us get over the top. I think Alex Condon's decision will be really important. He's testing right now, and he's getting mocked kind of late first, but he's got a great opportunity waiting for him back here at Florida. The fact that Tommy Houck is coming back, they're best friends. I think that's really valuable for us, and I think that might help. If Kondo has a tough decision to make here in the next week or so. But if we can kind of put these couple pieces together, then I'd be confident that we have a roster that can compete. And as you know, all you can really do is kind of put yourself in that arena. Then you got to catch some breaks. But that would be a team that could compete to kind of get back into that arena of playing late into March.
Coach, this has been awesome. Chandler, do you want to do the proper goodbye? I want to look like a poser. I know this is like, yeah.
And Chandler, you were so proud today, man. It was good to see you.
Yeah, come on. Say goodbye properly.
Coach, I love it. Let's keep going. You got my number. Hit me. I know we got to talk here about some stuff, so call me. Go Gators.
Don't let him around the children, Coach. Don't let him around the children.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been a blast. Appreciate y'all. Go Gators.
Run it back. Yeah. Run it up. Run it back.
Why don't we do a little you buying that? Lou, this was the big news a couple days ago. NBC Sports announcing that Michael Jordan, will serve as a special contributor to their upcoming NBA on NBC broadcasts. Are you buying that he's going to have some legit opinions and run with those?
Absolutely not. Not buying.
No.
Not buying it. Here, my theory is I know that they're reintroducing that iconic intro. And I think it just has something to do with the intro. Other than that, I don't think we're going to see Michael Jordan weekly or bi-weekly talking about today's basketball. Listen, the man
then let's do this. Let's do an over-under. We can do that. Chandler, over-under, he does 2 appearances all of next season.
Under.
That's where I feel the 2. That's where I'm coming in. Over?
Over
Okay. Okay.
By the way, it's so like I've never heard him talk about like any current player. Like I want to see who he thinks overrated. I want to see him think who's underrated. Like, by the way, you know what else I heard they're doing? Like they're airing the starting lineups on like, so which is also cool. I used to love that.
Wait, what do you mean they're airing this? Oh, like coming into the arena?
Yeah, everybody on TV, they're airing
that.
the starting lineups, which I'm a big starting lineup guy. So I think that's.
I used to love that as a kid. Listen, Chandler,
some arenas have great ones. Okay.
Michael Jordan don't care about no basketball player that ain't wearing that Jumpman symbol.
That'll be interesting. But by the way, I'll say this: it's a brilliant hire because as soon as that news broke, all of us were like, "Oh!" And we're gonna watch because we're just, is this the day Michael Jordan shows up in this broadcast?
We're getting tricked, y'all. We're under 2 appearances.
We'll get him like opening like their first game. We'll get him, and then I don't know when he'll come back.
It'll
whatever
be like,
Michael Jordan is contributing, like he's probably recorded it already.
That's actually, you know what's interesting is when we had Kobe on NBA Countdown, they signed a deal, but most of the deal was that we would air because he was producing like the animation and all that stuff. He had like a project, and he actually showed up in studio. I want to say a few times, maybe, but it was mostly other stuff. So I'll be curious to see if it resembles that. But I guess I should say over under 1.5. I'm taking the 2. So. We'll see what happens. But it's still big. It's still huge. All right, Chandler. Paul George said that if it weren't for LeBron James, they might have won a championship in Indiana, which means they would have beat, Spurs, Thunder, Mavericks, all those folks in the finals. Are you buying that?
You know how many people probably feel this way if LeBron James, you know what I mean? There's probably 50 players that think this, that if LeBron James didn't exist and it wasn't in their way to the finals or the Eastern Conference finals or whatever, that they would feel this way. Maybe, but I mean, I hate these takes. I love PG, but we'll never know. It's a silly argument. And LeBron James was there and he's still here. And so I'm not buying it because there was a lot of other great teams that year that probably felt the same way Paul George did.
Every year there's that. Patrick Mahomes has it now. Josh Allen.
Listen, I'll buy a little bit. I'll buy a little bit. PG was rolling in his Indiana days. They had a crew. So am I buying that they win the championship? I don't know if I'm buying that because on the West, it was crazy. Big. Now I could possibly buy them possibly getting to the finals. I'll buy that. So I'll buy a little bit. But they had a crew.
But we just started this segment with Michael Jordan. You know how many people think they could have made it so much further if Michael Jordan didn't exist?
Absolutely.
It's the
same thing.
Bad
maybe
timing.
if Lance didn't blow in it, maybe if Lance didn't blow in his ear, then things would be different too. Like
that would have changed everything. That was the moment. All right, guys, we have games this weekend. What are we looking forward to most? Tonight, tomorrow, Chandler?
You know what? I want a game 7 in the West. I want the Nuggets to force a game 7. I want that to go deep. I think that's obviously, I've said it yesterday. I've said it all week. I think the winner of that series wins the NBA championship. So I think both of them are tested. Both of them are great teams. I'd love to see that go 7. I'd love to see Nuggets get it done tonight.
I'm on my way to Iowa. Shout out to Winners United Basketball. We have a big-time tournament. We have another Nike stop this weekend. And obviously, I'm going to be tuned in to some good old Indiana basketball, baby. Let's go.
Coach Lou. George Yang in studio next week. Have a great weekend.
Run it up. You're running back. Yeah.